The particular social event is based on an incident involving a racist school principal. This incident occurred on August 2010, the month of Ramadan, a time of fasting ritual observed by the Muslim faith. Some Chinese students were having their usual breakfast in the school canteen, then stirring a negative response from the Malay principal. Later in the school assembly, principal was alleged to have said that the Chinese student just comprising 10% of the student population and that they should go back to China. This particular incident reflects the notion of differences along the axis of racist identity. As Austin highlighted, differences are always relational with reference to an invisible, unspoken center and a legitimate content. This means that the differences usually involve two parties, as reflected here, the Chinese and Malay community. The principle involved implied her norm whereby everyone in the society should observe the Muslim ritual of Ramadan in this particular instance. Nevertheless, the principal had marginalized and ordered the Chinese students and had not accepted the notion of differences. Rather, she promoted the idea that others should assimilate and adapt to the hosting and dominant culture. Instead, the principal suggested to the diasporas return to their country of origin if they choose not to adapt to the dominant Muslim culture. However, the concept of dominance based on the axis of racist identity in Malaysia is constantly changing, which depends on the situations. In the larger social context, the Malays are the predominant race in most states. Yet, in some communities in Malaysia, Chinese will be the dominance, especially in the economic fields. Malaysia is truly a nation of diversity, which comprises by three main ethnicities, namely Malays, Chinese, and Indians, as well as the native aboriginals. No individual need to give up his or her individual cultural practices, but instead encouraged to understand, respect, and tolerance amongst one another. Therefore, it should be promoting a policy of multiculturalism. Hence, it actually needs to include other features as proposed by Austin, whereby a particular space that composed by distinct elements. Besides, the community just ranges of differences in backgrounds and lifestyles, which relates to the idea of pluralism, that we can choose to work with any characteristics. Moreover, this ideology can bring forth a national identity enriched by a diversified culture rather than just a monoculture in creations of a Malaysian identity. Preschool students still cannot think abstractly and can't have an in-depth view or insight of different races and cultures. Based on the statement, we marginalizing others is due to our ignorance and fear of the unknown. The main aim and objective of the following whole series of activities are try to eliminate the unknown from each other by teaching students knowledge about various races through fun and interactive activities. It is also allowed the students to appreciate our differences and embrace the notion of diversity along the racist identity within the classroom and as well as the community at large. All the activities did not portray any race to be dominant in any situations. Thus, it will offer the students a sense that there is no race is seen as a lower class or less value to another.
I am unique.
The first part of the game is pick the voice owner. Each student will record their voice separately. Following that, replay each voice recording in the class and ask all the students to identify the voice owner. The voice recognition will offer a sense to the students that they all having different types of voice representing unique characteristics of individual person. Second part of the game is creating their personal profile. Students will need to write down their personal details in a blank notebook such as name, home address, hobby, gender, race, and with description of the physical appearance. Then we may ask students to try and find an 100% similarity profile with each other. Definitely they will be unable to do so. Hence, we will explain to them that each of these personal profiles will vary from one another and it is just unique to oneself. Besides, the inner contents are contributions to their identity as to who they are individually. Moreover, students may keep this handbook along and amend the profile anytime, which letting them to know our identities is always under constructions. Importantly, the aim of these activities is letting students appreciate that everyone is unique and we are just different from each other in some ways like our voice and profile. We need to emphasize that the differences among the classmates such as race and skin color is not a deficit, but rather it constitutes the sense of self.
Who from Malaysia?
We may run a brief introduction to students about the origin and meaning of Malaysian National Day or so-called Independence Day. We may introduce to students few prominent leaders from various racial backgrounds who had made contributions to Malaysia's independence from the British colonial rule. Furthermore, we can write the screen script based on this historical event and assign roles to the students to play drama acting. These activities offers the students opportunities to work together as a group formed by various racial backgrounds and promotes team spirit. Through the practices and performance, students can be made aware of the contributions by the various ethnic groups toward the country gaining independence. Hopefully, those Malay students who consider themselves as the dominant race will understand and learn to appreciate that Chinese and Indian are not just the diaspora, but also part of the contributors to the formation of the nation Malaysia. In addition, it will allow the Chinese and Indian students to have a strong sense of belonging as Malaysians. Participation in performance will also increase the students' level of confidence, especially those who had been categorized as different and being marginalized.
Home visiting.
Students have their chance to participate in an outdoor activity such as visiting the homes of their classmates of other racial background. During the trip, students are invited to share and explore the lifestyles peculiar to individual ethnicity and culture, and this will promote understanding and foster respect for one another. During the visits of each home, individual hosts may like to share the historical concept of the dwelling according to their cultural background. For example, Malay home or kampong, as is being known, are built on stilts to avoid flood and wild animals. Additionally, we may share with students some rituals observed by particular cultures, such as handshakes are done only with left hands for the Malays. As for the Indian household, one need to take off our shoes when entering their kitchen. It may actually increase the students' awareness of respective cultural practices. We may also engage students in some traditional cultural games such as gassing, shuttlecock, and etc. It creates an opportunity for students to integrate with friends from different racial backgrounds. Through their interactions in the games, it will break the barrier of the unknowns and feel full to the others. Hopefully, the outdoor activity may help the students to acquire more knowledge and insight about various races.
Celebration Day.
Schools can actually organize various cultural events during the festive seasons, such as Chinese New Year, Hari Raya Puasa, Deepavali, and Christmas. Before the day of celebrations, students can be taught to create cultural artwork to decorate the classroom. We may also tell the stories and origin of each religious celebrations to the students as part of their curriculum. We can also create play settings or scenarios, celebrative events during the classes and allow students to role play. Take for example, in the case of Hari Raya Puasa, traditionally children need to apologize to their parents for previous wrongdoings, whereas Chinese New Year, children will receive red packets from the elders. In this instance, a couple of teachers may act as the parents or elders, thus allow the students to role play and be able to connect and understand the respective ritual and tradition.
Hidden curriculum.
We can also utilize posters promoting the message of a united community in Malaysia on the notice board of the classroom or school compound. Those posters include pictures of photos of people from various racial backgrounds. This in turn will spread the idea of a diversified community that is the fabric of Malaysia. It will help the students to appreciate one another and feel proud of being a Malaysian. Besides, we need to promote the idea of equal chance. For instance, for all the activities as planned out in the previous slide, we must ensure that all students are given opportunities to be involved and participate accordingly. This will ultimately help to boost up students' confidence regardless of race, class, or gender identity. Concurrently, we may organize more activities or functions with involvement and participations from the students' parents as well. For instance, in activities such as home visiting and celebrations, parents are invited to participate. Those activities can create an opportunity for the parents to integrate and communicate with other parents from different races and religion. By communicating and sharing with each other, it may help to reduce some of the negative stereotypes imbued in some parents' mind, perhaps due to their ignorance. Parents do actually play a vital role influencing their children's perceptions and maybe imparting some social norms or negative stereotypes of other races to their children. Hence, narrowing the gap between parents from different races can have the potential of creating acceptance and harmony amongst children within the classroom in a multicultural setting. This comes to the end for my presentations. Thanks for your watching.